All right, we're here. We're here. So, some news dropped this week. Some news I was not expecting, and it caused me to ask some questions, right? So, out here in Thailand, right, Burger King decided to to have a little special called their all cheeseburger. Now, while you think that that sounds delicious, it turns out it's no meat. It's just bun, 20 slices of American cheese, and then bun. So, my question is, are you eating that?
If I eat that, I would never be able to poop again. Absolutely not.
I mean, just imagine, right? You say, "Hey, let me get the cheeseburger." And then they come out and they give you that. Just 20 slices of cheese. And how much you want to bet that it's not melted?
It's 100% not melted.
Literally
Because then
just straight out of the plastic and just slapped on there.
that's no, that's foul, man. We can't do that. I'd rather have just a grilled cheese sandwich than whatever that nonsense is.
Well, in that case, that's the ultimate grilled cheese sandwich.
You think they grill it? Because I feel like they don't.
Absolutely not. Oh, well, actually, nope, they don't even do it to their buns. Never for a regular Whopper. Nah.
That's pure constipation, man.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But just know that I will not be copying. That's too much. That's too much dairy for in one consumption for my stomach to take. But it was a question to be posed. Also,
Fair,
just to
fair.
make sure you're not a squirrel.
So I'm Demetrius,
And I'm Demetrius.
and Meet presents.
Blerd City Podcast.
We are back. It is episode 4. We just got off episode 3 with our special guest, Agent K. We're back here on this Monday, recapping Beloved, probably one of my favorite episodes of the season. Don't know how you feel about that, Meech, but we'll get into it later in the show. A lot to talk about. There's something very big in the news of Hollywood that we kind of have to cover today, considering the fact that Wednesday is going to be our cartoon draft and we're not going to have much time to cover it. So we're going to get into that later. But first, let's hit you with the legal spiegel.
All right, so this purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by their respective companies, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and reflect no biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is advised.
So, if you're a big fan of live action movies, TV shows, American voice acting, now is the perfect time to get into anime because Hollywood is completely on strike. There are no writers writing right now. There are no actors that are a part of the union that are acting. So, everything is essentially shut down for future production. A lot of movies that we were anticipating, hyped about, mostly coming out for next year, probably going to be pushed back if we're being honest. Meech, how you feel about that?
Upset, very deeply upset. I'm mad at Hollywood because there was some news that came out this week and it had me all in type of my feelings and type of excitement and emotions and then literally the day later literally a
Exactly.
day later after it gets announced and we see the press footage and you're like, oh yeah, no, this movie got delayed because of the strike. I'm like, Hollywood, can y'all get it together?
We can't have nice
We
things.
can't have nice things. In fact, I know I recently saw like a thing with Tom Holland and he said like, yeah, no, I don't like Hollywood and I'm really taking a break from that. I'm like, look, if you're getting Tom Holland to hate you, you didn't messed up, Holly.
It's a dirty business. And even the shirt I'm wearing right now, that's now production is halted. So we're gonna get into it, man. 2024 was looking right. Just like the movies that were already scheduled for release, the movies that were like kind of like tentatively ready to be released, but everything is just like delayed now. So all we got is 2023. When we get into our Wednesday podcast, we're going to talk about what's hot and just like the things that we're super excited for, but it might not be anymore. So we'll see.
I have nothing more to say because just know Hollywood, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, the consequences of COVID are definitely still ringing through with that. So, moving forward, we're going to get into this episode of Beloved Secret Invasion, episode 4. What you got for the pulse of the people?
Well, let's see. Well, people are now starting to understand and like the show. All I have to say is Disney, run me my money. Just run me my money. Just cut me my check, Disney.
Every week.
Just cut me my check because I didn't called everything that happened in this episode from day one.
Yes.
So give me my money. Give me my money.
Yeah, I talked to Agent K earlier in the week about it. So like they kind of enjoyed it as well. I think like people are still, I've seen some things where people are like, y'all are going to the well too many times for certain things that we'll get about in the recap. Which I do kind of feel to an extent, but I do think the general consensus is like, hey, it's picking up. It's better. This is kind of what we expected. And one of my predictions actually came true. Not as many as yours since you wrote the show, but
Mm-hmm.
but we'll go from there. So getting into the recap, I have to start with an apology. So last week I said that Gaia's decision not to disguise herself was a case of bad writing. I'm not too proud to beg, nor am I too proud to apologize. So what she did was she opens up. It shows a flashback of her getting the extremist power. And then when she gets shot, she's able to obviously recover, quote unquote, come back to life in a sense. And it's actually pretty smarter because now Gravik thinks he took one of the pieces off of the board. Now she can actually go into hiding, do her scroll thing. And I actually have a prediction for her, but we're going to get to that in the predictions page. So
Yep, you want to say that.
So going forward, the first scene opens with Fury post Avengers 2012, going from there.
Yes. So he going up, he meeting with Boothang, and she basically Priscilla, right? She basically like ends up telling like about this poem that she's reading and how like essentially this poem's about her wanting to be called beloved and just about love and you see the heart emojis just start flying out of the table out of Fury and out of her and just like bruh. And then it cuts to her at church. And essentially she meets up with first prediction correct. First prediction that I need my money for, that it was Rhodey that she ends up meeting with. And then she basically say like, hey, I can't do this anymore. Like, why don't we keep Fury alive? And then prediction number 2 ended up being correct when it turns out that Rhodey was a Skrull the entire time. I need my money. And essentially, like he said, like, hey, listen, either you kill Fury or I kill both of y'all.
Yes.
Basically, it's like, hey, it is what it is. Like, I'm the one who got him out. I'm the one who ousted him. I'm the one that, like, listen, you better do what you do. And so, yeah, if you had any comments about Road Skrull.
The one thing I would say about Rhodey being a Skrull, obviously, like, here it's like, okay, yeah, Rhodey is quote unquote Skrull. Later in the show, they show that Rhodey is actually a Skrull, So with that, I like that he is a Skrull because his behavior is now like he's like out of pocket this entire episode, and you're like, okay, now it's Don Cheadle having fun and stuff like that with it. But what I would say for that is just like, yeah, now we have to like kind of backtrack to when he might have been a Skrull. Maybe when he was light skinned and then he was taken off the board and became Don Cheadle.
Dang. So you say the entire time he was Don Cheadle? That was bro, if that no. Prediction. Save a prediction.
All right. So moving forward, we then do Talos. He has a conversation with Gaia, which was a really sweet conversation for part of it. But what I really enjoyed about that is, one thing I would say is that he was giving her plan, his plan for like the Skrulls. But what she said to him was very like, wow, where she goes, the answer that I've been looking for my entire life has been like, where do I belong? And that answer has always been by your side or with you. And that was like, oh my gosh, that was my heart emojis. But then Taylor describes she's like, but I need a plan. You need to give me something. And he describes his plan. And even before like she says anything, I was like, Talos, you sound delusional, my guy.
Ooh boy, oh man, yeah. When I listen to that plan, I'm like, bro, how long have you lived here? How long you been on this earth, my guy? And you still have not figured that out, which is exactly what Fury told him in episode 2.
Yes.
Essentially, we see what happened in episode 2 essentially like play out in his delusional thoughts, and even Guy calls him out on it. I called him out. I'm like, bro, this ain't gonna go the way you think, my guy.
Yes. So like what his plan essentially is like, hey, we stop Gravik, we give it to the US government or whatever government we're going to give it to. Then we have a sanctuary amnesty for our 1 million people. The problem is if you rock with me with this analogy, if you have an ant infestation in your house and then some of the good ants come into your house and like, hey, we stopped all the bad ants from coming and can we make a deal and stay in your house? You'd be like, oh, sure. And then the very next day, the exterminator is going to roll up and get rid of all of the ants in your house. It's not happening. So with that, Gaia, she's like, yo, this is ridiculous. I got to go my own path. One thing I do want to say with the earlier scene when Scylla was in the church with Rhodey, our boy Fury, who I told y'all would start turning up around episode 3 or episode 4, was already listening in. So he knew what was going on. So moving forward, we have the talk. It's a really quick scene, like transition in the show where it's like she comes home and she sees the ring is in the bucket essentially, or the bowl, and she's like, "Hey, did you forget your ring?" And he's like, "Nope, I was just on my way out." And he's like, "I know, that you've been talking to Gravik. I know that you're supposed to kill me. You can take the gun out already." And then they have the scene where they both put the guns on the table and they just like talk and oh my gosh. And then they recite the poem to each other. And when they pulled the trigger, I thought for sure Fury was going to kill her. I knew she was going to miss him. I thought Fury was going to kill her.
I did too. I was like, yep, well, R.I.P. I was like, well, RIP to Priscilla, because as soon as he put the gun on the table, I knew what time it was.
Yeah.
But then the thing that happens, like you see her, she turns around to see that he missed too, and they're both laughing, whatnot, and they're like, oh, we should probably get therapy after this.
Yeah.
But then comes a very heart like wrenching line where she's like, would you still love me in my true form? And he just puts his hands on her face and then walks out while saying, guess we'll never know.
And that's gonna relate to my big question of the week later. But yeah, like before they shot at each other and he was calling her his greatest mistake. And like obviously like calling someone a mistake is like, oh, but like the way he like described it was like so beautiful, where it's like, I'm so glad that I got to spend this life with you. And did you, like leading into the poem, did you get to be able to call yourself beloved? And wow, that was impactful. So moving forward, I believe the next scene he is in, it's revealed that Rhodey is actually a scroll, like physically they show it. So then he's in the office with Rhodey. And I thought he was gonna like bust Rhodey out or whatever, but like he pulls out the bourbon and just starts slick talking Rhodey. And it's such a funny scene.
Yep. Yeah, it sure was. It was like, hey, what's good, my brother? And then it's like, hey, here's that I forgot what type of liquor it was. I'm gonna just call it Don Julio because that's here's this ancient Don Julio. It's been cultivated for years. Go ahead, take a drink. And he's like, okay, yeah. How about I pour it out and then drink my own? And it's like, because you might have poisoned it, you might have laced it with something.
Right.
I was like, all right, cool. You do that, then all your ancestors gonna whoop yo behind for wasting this Don Julio.
The scroll ancestors.
The scroll ancestors is crazy. Oh yeah, but yeah. So essentially, he just like, hey, let's let bygones be bygones. They both take a drink. It's like, oh yeah, I know you a scroll. And I know you. I want to know, like, hey, where Gravik at? What your plans? And look, you need to tell me where the real roads is at. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to put the pause on you.
He doesn't say that, right?
I mean, he just basically paraphrased it. Like
Okay, yeah.
you can get like the subtext of like what he's
Right.
saying. Like he doesn't outright say that, but
Hmm.
he's like, hey, just give me my job back, make free me. I want to be cleared of all charges and whatnot. And
Hmm.
Rose just or Scroll goes like, or how about this? Hold on there, Wally. How about this? And he puts up the footage, the Russian footage, and he's like, how about this? I don't release this footage of you killing Maria, who was really Gravik killing Maria,
Hmm.
and then you go to jail or probably die,
Yeah.
and then I keep you out of trouble, and you just keep clear. How's that sound, brother? Or wait, I'm sorry. Like, how's that, boy? And then he's just like, okay, I'm gonna leave you alone for right now.
Yes, but so leading into that scene, as Fury said, he put the tracker in the drink, which Scroll wrote he didn't believe. So with that, it's like nanites or something like that. He's with Talos in the car. They start tracking his movements of Scroll Rhodey. And a really funny scene where like Rhodey is like giving this full like conversation to the president, and I'm like, fam, shut up. Like, ain't nobody asked you for no descriptive Sun Tzu opinion or whatever. So then the president's like, hey, you had a little bit to drink this morning.
Yeah, I was like, and he's like, huh? It's like, yeah, you had a you pre-gamed with the Russians. I'm like, bro, how bad is your breath right now? And he's
I
like,
mean, I think they had the whole bottle.
oh yeah, because he left the Don Julio there. He left it there.
Hmm.
So yeah, he must have pre-gamed hard. But of course, scroll physiology, I don't think he was drunk at all. He was
Hmm.
just overplaying his hand, if you will.
Exactly.
But yeah, so like he like give me a mint, and then he's in the car, and then as like the president and everybody's driving in their separate vehicles, Rhodey makes a call. Is that, hey, I forgot what the call sign was. It was like the basically the president's in car 4. Or
Yep.
president is in car 4, and that gave the notice to Gravik that, all right, and he comes swooping in the chopper, because as we know, like all of them are pretending to be Russians,
Yep.
even though Gravik is unmasked and is clearly black.
Yes.
But that, and even though you talk in Russian, that don't mean jack, because you still look black and you still have
Yes.
that black accent. I'm just saying, and essentially it goes straight to heck real quickly.
Hmm. Yeah. So with that, then we see Fury stepping in with Talos, tracking. Obviously, the president is trapped upside down in the car. So then Fury steps in. He starts, like I said, he starts turning up this episode, really going at it. So he's like there. He has backup because they kind of knew what was going to happen. So then Gravik is like he's seeing the plan starting to unravel. He uses the second power that we saw for the Super Scrolls for his group powers, and then with that, it's a really impactful scene where Fury is really close to saving the president, and then but the glass windows are bulletproof. So then Talos, he starts like breaking the glass with his scroll powers. He gets clipped. So like he's starting to turn into a scroll, which freaks out one person so far, but that person is then revealed later to be Gravik. But once Talos like he breaks the glass, save the president, Fury's taking him away, and then Gravik unveils himself and stabs Talos. And it's like Fury's left with the decision: do I go back for my friend Talos, or do I take the president? So he ends up taking the president, and then Talos is presumed dead. So
Man, that's why Taylor's really neat. I mean, not Taylor. So Gravik really needs to have his behind whooped. I really need to see him get taken down a peg
yes,
or a lot. I know his plan unraveled, but the fact you have to take out my boy Talos after he outright saved the president, crazy.
yes. All right. So anything else from the episode you want to discuss before we kind of move forward? It was like the shortest episode by far.
Yeah, it really was a short one. I think like we basically covered like all of it in a very short time frame. I'm like, dang, that's
Beautiful.
and it
So
and
yes.
it went by in a flash.
So MVP of the week.
Ooh, ooh, I You know I gotta give it to our one eye man Fury.
Absolutely.
He turned up. He turned up hard this episode. He out here getting Boothang to be right. And in fact, one thing we didn't talk about was how essentially she tells him like why in the world she chose that face.
Yes, that was actually a really beautiful scene.
It was beautiful because essentially like she was in with a nurse, well, like a nurse who was dying, and the nurse, she didn't want like anybody to like know that she was dying. To like, hey, take my face, take my life, and just continue on. But like the one thing that the nurse wanted to do before she died was to fall in love. And like, hey, I can do that by through being you.
Hmm.
And she laid out the ground rules and of like just how to be loved. And like her final rule was do not hurt the one that she loves. I was like, oh,
That was tough. That was tough. And it's going to kind of tie into my big question about like Scylla becoming someone else in order to fall in love with Fury. So,
yeah, but yeah, so like as I said, Fury, big MVP. He out here, he convinced Boothang to not off him, as well as not offing her. He managed to drug Scroll Rhodey and knew he was Scroll Rhodey. He out here planting folks. He out here saving the president, and he turning up. He killing a bunch of scrolls left and right. He killed a whole chopper full of them.
yeah, so definitely my MVP of the week as well. So, with that out of the way, we can get to our big questions of the week. All right, so my big question of the week relates to what kind of Scylla slash Var asked of would you ever love me if I could be my true self? And my big question of the week is, can we ever really be our true self just in life? I mean, think about, we talked about it in the first episode that we did about code switching and just like kind of the mask that we wear, generally speaking. And we both like knowing each other and knowing ourselves. There's a version of this podcast that is much more explicit, much more raunchier that we could do. But just like the lifestyle that we chose, we aren't doing it. And, that's good, but that's also like a piece of ourselves that we're, dying to ourselves, quote unquote, to speak. But just like different aspects of it doesn't necessarily mean that like you're hiding your true self. That means your true self is evil. But how we speak to our parents isn't always the same way we speak to our siblings. How we speak to our siblings, not necessarily the same time we speak to our friends or like adults, older adults in general, not generally the same that we kind of speak to our bosses in a sense. So like different aspects of that. And then even if you think about it with Scylla, she kind of knew Nick Fury for 30 years and you saw like immediately when he walked in how she turned into like a human or, when she was in her scroll form. So kind of just like with that, did he really like, could he like tolerate her scroll form, And even with us being Blue Lock fans, think about Bachira, how his entire life he had that monster in him. And like he couldn't like only like two people were able to access the monster. And then even though he was like able to access the monster, he had to become the monster himself in order to like actualize. So like with that, can we ever truly be our true selves?
Good one. Good. Deep question. Deep question. Mine was kind of on a similar like deepness, but it's like, okay, so as we were looking at Talos and his moral quandary to Gaia about everything, my main question is like, at what point are you willing to kind of like, at what point does your fantasy start becoming delusion?
Mm.
At what point do your dreams start becoming unrealistic and start becoming something else and becomes more detrimental? Because as we know, like Talos's dream is to like have 1 million+ scrolls live amongst humans and live coexistingly and live peacefully. And yet what he's failing to take into account is the fact that Gravix and his like radical and downright terroristic actions is gonna paint the entire Skrull civilization in a bad light. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and if we look to our actual real life history, that has happened way too many times just in the United States alone.
Mhm.
So like he was really deeply entrenched in wanting them to coexist, but at what point are you like ignoring the reality of the situation? At what point do like your dreams are you not counting the cost for, and are you like just you're just lost in the sauce?
That's definitely deep because it kind of like Fury, Gaia, and Gravik all told him some variation of like your dream is not realistic because of how humans behave, and you should know better.
Yep, and unfortunately, he does not listen every single time. It still goes based off his belief.
And then that like low key ties into my question because his version of coexistence is not scrolls being scrolls; it's scrolls looking and acting like humans to coexist. So like again, like his people can't be themselves with that. So that's yeah, definitely we were on that poet thinking today.
Look, after watching an episode about poetry, we locked in.
Lots. All right. So with that, we are going to get into our predictions for next week and then big picture view. What you got?
All right. So, firstly, predictions. All right. If Talos is actually dead, we, Gaia gonna have to find out. So,
Mhm.
my question is, what in the world is she gonna do? And actually, another big question is like, does Gaia have? Does she just have the extremist powers, or does she have other abilities as well?
Mhm.
Like, is she gonna be like on even footing with Gravik having Groot and Cole Obsidian's powers? Does she have like some other superheroes' powers, or is
Right.
she just have the regeneration? That's I guess like that's a question I would want answered. Is like just how deep does super scrolling go with her,
Mhm.
and how many other scrolls have those abilities as well? Another question would be like what again, are there any other characters who got scrollified and we don't know about?
Has to be.
What is the president gonna think about when the scrolls are there?
Yeah.
So that's just a couple of mine. What you got?
I think kind of tying into the question of just like with Tails, where it's like, hey, a scroll gave his life to save you, President. I think Fury's going to hammer that home. Ultimately, episode 5, episode 6, to kind of be like, hey, we're not going to acknowledge scrolls exist to the public, but we are going to under the table accept you. I think that's going to kind of tie into it just because I think Fury is going to really hammer that home to him. I think also Gravik, his master final stroke plan has to get revealed in episode 5 in order to like have that big finale in episode 6, just based on the story of how it goes. And then with Gaia, I think her and Fury link up in like morning. I think Talos is dead, just because that'll be her superhero boost. But going into my big picture view, I think Gaia is going to be this scroll queen.
Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. That's a good prediction. Good prediction. Good one. Good one. I actually kind of like that. You're gonna have Dracarys be another queen. You're gonna have Dracarys be queen of two kingdoms.
Yes.
Let's get it.
I love it.
I love it. Also, another big thing we kind of haven't touched upon, Rhodey.
We got to find our boy.
Firstly, one, we got to find like where Rhodey actually is. Two, is Scroll Rhodey gonna be rocking his suit
Ooh.
in the finale?
Ooh. Wait, what if Scroll Rhodey is War Machine and then they find the other Rhodey who's Iron Patriot again?
Ooh,
Armor Wars, baby.
ooh. That's how you lead to. That's how you lead into it. No. Wait.
I'm locked in. I'm locked in. Come on.
Wait. Hold on. Because if we, I'm going based off my comic mind. The Iron Patriot suit was initially used for evil. So you have Skrull Rhodey in Iron Patriot, regular Rhodey in War Machine.
Okay. So do you think Scroll Rhodey was Iron Man 2? Because technically it was evil, but it was like hacked because of the electricity dude.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Like, I think that he was not, honestly, in my personal opinion, he couldn't have been a scroll for too long because remember, he got crippled in Civil War to where he
Hmm.
was forced to wear a brace. I think scrolls are able to like heal from that. But and like the War Machine suit is more iconic than
Hmm.
the Iron Patriot suit. So it would make more sense for him for a brother to be wearing the black suit and then fight the scroll radicalists to be wearing something more patriotic. Whoa, hold on. I'm about to touch something
Mm.
deep. I'm touching something deep.
Mm.
I'm about to touch something deep. Some nationalists, if you will, to be
All
wearing
right,
something American.
all right.
It's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, it would force that dichotomy to fight.
All right, stay with me here. I like this conversation. So, if I don't know if they would do it the same way, but think about it. They have an Ironheart series coming up?
Mm-hmm.
Presumably, I hope, because
Oh,
CEO of Disney said they're starting to cut some stuff. So I don't know if that's going to get cut. But with that, do you think they will treat him like how the Falcon assumed the Captain America kind of mantle, where Rhodey would assume the Iron Man mantle, or do you think that would like it would just be Ironheart is quote unquote Iron Man?
that's a deep one considering both of them were well actually well Ironheart like in her title was in the Invincible Iron Man, but she was
Mhm.
never called Iron Man.
Right, because for reasons.
Yeah, for obvious reasons, but Rhodey has been called Iron Man before. So maybe he could take on the mantle of Iron Man and in the show, like him slowly becoming Iron Man, like getting the iron suit and everything, in
Hmm.
the Tony suit, but or like recoloring War Machine to have the Iron Man colors. Uh, but either option could work. I think like in terms of everything, like look, she Riri is always gonna be Ironheart.
Hmm.
Ironheart is her title, and I don't think like in the show that's called Ironheart they're gonna change that.
Yeah, yeah, most likely.
Like the only reason they did so for Falcon and the Winter Soldier is because it's about Falcon becoming Captain America, which actually happened in the comics.
Right.
She never was officially Iron Man. So that's all I got on that one.
I think for me, Armor Wars, Ironheart, and then Captain America: Brave New World are like the three projects outside of obviously the multiversal saga that I'm most excited for. What we were going to talk about kind of earlier, but we'll mention in the what's hot. I think that's what a lot more people are excited for when we get to that third movie. But we're going to talk about that Wednesday. So
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that at a later day. But is it bad? Like every time you keep saying Captain America: Brave New World, my mind immediately goes back to the old name. It's like, oh yeah, Captain
yeah,
America: New World Order. I'm like,
I
oh,
prefer
okay.
that name so much more.
Right? It flows off the tongue better. New
And it
World,
sounds darker too. Yeah.
man, Disney, get it together. Brave New World don't sound right.
It does it. Yeah. New World Order rolls off the tongue so much easier.
Man, get it together.
But it's funny, the things we're most excited for are the Blacklet things. Welcome to
Are we?
Blerd City, people.
It's like, are you surprised though? Are you surprised though, audience? Exactly. Get it together.
All right. So you got anything else?
Oh man, no, not really. Just again, if any of my firstly, Disney cut me my check for all the predictions I've made that have been correct, and secondly, give me if any of these predictions end up coming true, I need my check expeditiously. I know Disney, you're part of the Hollywood strike, but I need my check, and then I'll be fighting.
All righty. So with that, I think let's hit us with the plugs real quick.
Yep. So all right, Instagram and Twitter, Blerd City 22. Like, follow, subscribe, all that good jazz. YouTube and Patreon, Blerd City Pod. Donate a little cheddar, get access to exclusive episodes like our Spider-Man One More Day deconstruction and complete. No, it's not even a deconstruction, it's an obliteration and complete a revival. And then from there, we got ourselves our Discord linked in our Instagram page. Come and see how we're doing in the fine community of Blerd City, right? And from there, right, we got ourselves our email, blerdcity22@gmail.com, where you're allowed to ask questions for our Q&As. We got ourselves no Geek Out Freak House, random fan theories of the day. Come support us and come give us questions of that ilk or nature. Finally, personal page, Rogue Jedi 21 on TikTok, however long we got TikTok, because the days are numbered, and I may be switching over to Threads very soon. So yeah, that's all I got. What you have?
All right. So for my individual author pages, we have my Instagram at Mitri_Dash. So that is METRI_DASH. For my Twitter at the Mad-16. And if you are interested in my book, Phantom Pains, A Most Irregular Tale, that is available on Amazon. So for Wednesday on the main podcast, we are having our cartoon draft. We're having two special guests on. If you've seen our X-Men draft, and then also our anime villain draft, you'll know how out of pocket, how contentious those get. So I'm super excited for that on Wednesday. If you want a primer for that, just to kind of catch up on the cartoons, you can check out our previous episode, just down the retro road of the different cartoons, and we kind of just like lay it out. For the end of the month, just to kind of really hammer this home, we're going to have a big mailbag once we come back from DreamCon, have on the Afropuff Samurai, talk about our experience, and then just kind of answer mailbag questions. So with all of that said, it's not goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. And that's the Blerd City Podcast.
See ya later.